I couldn't do a podcast, I hear you saying. Who's going to want to hear anything you have to say anyway? Today on the PG podcast, I'm going to tell you all the reasons why you, yes, you should have your own podcast and show you how easy it is to do it. So if you're ready, let's get started. You know that 1 out of every 3 people in the United States of America listen to a podcast this week? It's the truth. That means if you are not listening to a podcast, then you're pretty soon going to be in the minority. But this is why, the main reason why I believe that you need a podcast in your life is because I know that every one of you have a message. The whole message of the Preacher Girl community is that you don't need a pulpit to preach, you just need a message. That includes every single one of us. Do you understand that if your message is not reaching anyone, then you're the equivalent of a preacher with a band-aid over your mouth, not letting your message get out? Your podcast is going to be the easiest way in the whole wide world to reach a large audience in a small amount of time. So the first and most important reason I know that you need your own podcast is because you have a message that needs to be shared. And that is a really great platform in which to share your message. Let me tell you a story. When I was in seminary, and that was on my way to becoming an ordained minister, I sat there in a class of 80 people. I was one of the very few women in there and the only woman who wanted to be a pastor of a church. Everybody else, all the other girls, just wanted to be a preacher, maybe, an evangelist or a missionary. They didn't want a pastor. I was the only one who felt the call of God to actually pastor a group of people. I remember sitting in the classroom one day and seeing the lecturer write on the board, "Women should not pastor." Now hear me, I'm sitting there with that calling and seeing him, the PhD who is teaching my class, saying that women should not pastor. We should preach, we can sing, we can do children's church, we can do whatever ministry we want, but not pastoring. My heart sank. And I looked around the room like, does everybody believe this? And of course they quote scriptures, you all know them, that a woman ought not to preach or to teach, but to learn in silence. And I know that that's the scriptures that people have used over the years to make women feel that they should not pastor. But if that's the scripture, then we shouldn't be teaching at all, according to some people, and somebody says that. But I gotta tell you, once God calls you, nobody can uncall you. I knew my calling, I felt my calling, but there was nobody there in that room to say, yes, you were called. Thank God Pastor Kurt was there, and he stood up and said, well, why can't a woman pastor? And the man said, well, the head of the household is the man and not the woman, and the head of the man is God. And Kurt said, well, if I give her permission, can she pastor then? And the man didn't have a response for him, but this is what I want to say. I want to say, if God called you to a ministry, if you know that, then nobody else in the whole wide world can really tell you otherwise. That is why this group was formed. Not to create pastors, but to allow women and daughters of God to know that it doesn't matter who doesn't believe in your calling. It doesn't matter that people said you can't do it. How many times have you heard that? Many times in my life. When I moved to New York, I heard it. When I became a youth pastor, I heard it. When I moved to the United States, I heard it. When I tried to buy this building, I heard it. Did I care? Not very much. Because if it's God's will, it's God's bill. I know you heard the cliche, where He leads or where He guides, He provides. And it's the truth. But I'm here to tell you about starting your own podcast, because I believe it's going to be the way where your message, it doesn't have to be a pulpit message. Maybe your message is, I can cook healthy food, or this is how I raise my kids, or this is how I feed my chickens, or this is how I make, roti. I don't care what it is. As long as you have a gift and a message and something that can be shared with the world, then you have a responsibility from God to share that message. So that's just the first reason why I feel that you should have your own podcast. Reason number 2. The reason why I feel that you, Preacher Girl, need to have your own podcast is because podcasts are very easy to digest. In this world that we live in, we're so used to quick information. Do you remember when makeup tutorials first came out on YouTube, and these makeup gurus were doing hour-long get ready with me kind of things, and everybody sat there and watched it? And I know some people still do, but now it's all about Instagram. It's all about 30 seconds. Just show me the quick end result. We want stuff really fast. And so no longer are you getting that great slow content. Everybody's in a rush. Well, podcasts, they give you the ability to expand what you're saying. It's not just a drop on a wall. It's not just a picture on Instagram. It's not just 10 seconds on a story. A podcast allows you to share something that might be a little more involved, 3 points, or this is how I know what you're thinking, but Pastor, I don't know anything. What am I going to share with people? Well, why not learn something and share your journey? Why not say, I don't know how to, I'm about to learn it. I'm going to walk you through it with me. I know you're afraid because you're like, wait, I don't know how to be in front of a camera. And that is the second reason why a podcast is a great idea. A podcast is a really, really great idea because it allows you to give what we call a long form explanation. You get to take your time. You get to make the points drawn out. Nobody is putting you on a 7-second limit. A few decades ago, 20 minutes was an attention span. Do you know how much it is in 2020? 7 seconds. A podcast gives people the ability to hear you explain yourself better. That was reason number 2. The third reason why you need your own podcast is because it allows you to build your own brand. And I know that feels like selling yourself. I don't want to build a brand. I'm not Coca-Cola. I hear you now. But before you jump off the wagon, please listen. Your brand is important if God is going to use you. You hear? Because people don't really care too much about my church. They don't really care too much about 14282 Rockaway Boulevard. You know what connects people? That there is a pastor who loves them. That I love my people. I started a group just so my girls could get a leg on movement, or just so that they could take things to the next level. I do training classes for them, the young men and women who want to preach the gospel. Why? Because I love them and I invest in them because they are my sheep. When you try to sell something or give something to somebody, they're not going to care that you're doing that. In the beginning of your podcast, nobody may want to listen. But once you start establishing yourself as an authority on a subject, say all you can do is bake cupcakes, or all you can do is do drawing. I know there are so many artists or designers, whatever it is you're good at or getting good at. The fourth reason why you should start your own podcast is because you're supporting those who are in situations just like you. Isn't that a great reason? Think about it. You're not the only entrepreneur. You're not the only somebody, baking cakes. You're not the only person with your unique set of talents. And maybe you're not the only person who feels lost. Maybe your podcast is just about what to do when you have nothing to do, or how great you feel when you wake up in the morning, or the challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis. There are so many other people just like you who need support in that type of community. Long ago in religious circles, people used to revere the pastor like they were something very unique and very sanctimonious, and in some religions that's still the case. But in Christianity and in our faith, I believe that the message is not isolated to the pastor. Yes, we are shepherds, but it's the message for everyone. And it's our responsibility to reach those people in our circle, in the circle that we can influence. And that means, I believe, I want to hear what you have to say. The enemy will come and tell you, nobody wants to hear you. Go on and on. Your podcast doesn't have to be 20 minutes. It can be 5. And you know what? I know that in this community, there are some winners in here. Some podcasts that will blow up and blow PG out of the water. And I'm rooting for you. I want you to be that. Girls, you don't even understand what I'm trying to say. If you can do pedicures, do the pedicure podcast. Is that brilliant or is that brilliant? It doesn't matter what you're good at or what you want to be good at or what you dream of. Do a podcast on the things I dream about. It doesn't matter. But one day, somebody will find that, and it will be exactly what they needed to hear at that time. Instead, you on the bus hoping God gives you permission to speak to the person next to you. And 9 times out of 10, you're not speaking to anybody. So it's a good reason in that you reach those that you can influence, and you connect with those who think like you. The next reason is because you strike a deep connection with your listeners, with your customer base, with your friends, with those that hear you. Because as a pastor, the people in my church are connected to me, but some people are more connected. Do you know what our vlog and our podcast has done? It has connected me to you. I struck up a connection with you in a way that you would have never been able to connect with me. You know how I like my shoes. You know how to wear makeup like this. You know the things I buy from Amazon. You might think, and I trust me, it's scary for me to put those things out there. I'm not a very public person, even though it feels like that. Only a few very, very select people know what I'm like in my house. But now I got a chance to connect with you on a very personal level. Some of you know what I had for breakfast today because you're in the PG Fit Keto Club, and so that's what a podcast does. It allows you to connect with people. Let's say, for instance, you're an entrepreneur. Let's say you have a business and you do art, and you sell your paintings. If you put up a fantastic drawing of a tulip, maybe somebody likes tulips can buy it. But if you had a podcast that said the journey of the tulips, and then you told me the story, you told me why a tulip meant something to you, and that it was the first thing you saw your dad give to your mom, and it struck a chord in you. Or like me, tulips are my favorite, and I'll tell you why. Because they're so simple. It's just a few petals, and they're just so smooth and simple. I love that. All of a sudden, my painting of a tulip means a whole lot more. It's not just a painting. It's a story that comes from in my heart. It makes me, as a customer, want to buy what you sell better. Do you get that? That's why everybody who's trying to sell anything, if you're trying to share anything, if you're trying to do a Bible study, if you're trying to grow a church, it doesn't matter. But what a podcast does, it will allow you to connect on a deeper level with the people you're trying to reach. If that is not enough of a reason, I don't know what is. Just say perhaps you're trying to sell something, your business, your restaurant, Compass Cafe, whatever it is. If people knew the heart behind what it is you are trying to do, they would be more prone to purchasing from you. And I don't do this to sell, but maybe that's what you might need to do. Maybe your ministry and your message is around a product, and a podcast is a super duper cheap way to get it done. One more bonus reason why you need your podcast today, but before I tell you what that is, and it's a super awesome reason, I want to throw out a PG challenge. You ready? Okay, I challenge you to start a podcast. I don't know how, Pastor. Well, that's what this link down here is for. I want you to click that link. I have a free start your own podcast with nothing but your iPhone today. These 4 simple steps will get your podcast recorded and published with nothing but your iPhone, and it's free for you. So if you want it, you just click that link in the description and start your podcast. Here is the challenge. For any PG that will start a podcast within the next week, and publish it, I'll subscribe. I promise you, I'll be the first person to subscribe to your podcast and share it, because I want to see how many podcasts we could just populate. Let me tell you something. It's a great place to be, by the way, because 500,000 videos are uploaded to YouTube every minute, but there are only 700,000 podcasts in the world. You see that? It is a wide open market. I'm not talking about video blogs. You don't have to get in front of a camera. You just have to talk into your iPhone. So here is the challenge. If you will start your own podcast within the next week, this workshop that I have, the free one underneath here, it will show you how to pick your topic, and it will show you how to record it and how to get it published all in one evening. Maybe an hour is all you'll need to do. So don't be afraid. If you're ready and up for the challenge, then you can be a part of it right now. Shania is going to put all the details for you, and then at the end of it, I'm going to choose one big winner, and I don't know what the prize is, but it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be a true PG extravaganza prize. The final tip, and probably the best one for most of you. The reason why you need to have your own podcast right now is because it's so darn easy. If you knew how easy it was to do this, and I'm about to show you, I'll give you the free software. Yes, I'll give you the free tips. I'll show you how to pick your topic. I'll even make it easy for you to know what to say, so you'll have no excuse, because God put something inside of you. And when you get to heaven, you'll have to give an account for what He deposited. A podcast is the easiest and most effective way right now to get your message out there. It's so easy. You just might do it. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast today. I hope it was great for you, or if you're watching on video, I hope you enjoyed it. Please click the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of our podcasts, and definitely give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. One more thing, if you're watching this on YouTube and you did not subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, please click the link and subscribe right now. We need you there as well, because sometimes you can't have your phone to watch the video, but you can put your earphones in. So I want you to do that right now. Just click subscribe to the iTunes podcast as well. And if you haven't done so, leave a review. Make sure it's 5 stars. I love you. God bless you. You remember, you don't need a pulpit. You just need a message, because if God calls you, no one can uncall you.